Political parties occupy a special place in democracy. This is because parties have evolved out of the human need to convert social thought into political action. Since democracy admits to the possibility of there being multiple forms of democratic organization, that is, the existence of many choices in running a society, it is logical to assume that there would probably be as many political parties as there are forms of social philosophy. In this chapter, we will study
Need for political parties in a democracy. Political parties represent sentiments of the people, and they are the most important component of any democracy. A political party is a formal group of people gathered together on common programs with its three major pillars: an elected leader, active members and followers. Their objective is to fill political offices and work as the representative of people. Political parties serve a necessary function in politics by positioning their principles, goals and policies among a subset of citizens and mobilization of people's sentiments. In a democracy, as long as there are ideological differences, political parties are an undeniable factor. Different political parties reflect the diversity of the people and give value to every vote of the citizens. Parties in many countries may be flawed, but they are also indispensable in democratic governance. They place citizens' local concerns in a national context. Political parties can organize sectoral differences, creating grounds for compromise. Moreover, we need political parties to train and nominate political leaders who fought the major roles in governing society.
Main functions of political parties. Political parties are an essential part of democracy. They are the backbone of democracy. According to Munro, government by free political parties is merely another name for democratic government. A number of general functions of parties can nevertheless be identified. The main functions of political parties are as follows. Representation. Representation is often seen as the primary function of parties. It refers to the capacity of parties to respond to and articulate the views of both members and the voters. In the language of systems theory, political parties are major inputting devices that ensure that government heeds the needs and wishes of the larger society. Elite formation and recruitment. Parties of all kinds are responsible for providing states with their political leaders. Much more commonly, politicians achieve office by virtue of their party post. Contestants in a presidential election are usually party leaders, while in parliamentary systems, the leader of the largest party in the assembly normally becomes the prime minister. Cabinet and other ministerial posts are usually filled by senior party figures. Goal formation. Political parties have traditionally been one of the means through which societies set collective goals and, in some cases, ensure that they are carried out. Parties play this role because, in the process of seeking power, they formulate programs of governance through conferences, conventions, election manifestos, and so on, with a view to attracting popular support. Not only does this mean that parties are a major source of policy initiation, it also encourages them to formulate coherent sets of policy initiatives that give the electorate a choice of realistic and achievable goals. This function is most clearly carried out by parties in parliamentary systems that are able to claim a mandate to implement their policies, that is, parties that are voted into power. Interests, articulation, and aggregation. In the process of developing collective goals, parties also help to articulate and aggregate the various interests found in the society. Parties indeed often develop as vehicles through which business, labor, religious, ethnic, or other groups advance or defend their various interests. The UK Labour Party, for instance, was created by the trade union movement with the aim of achieving working-class political representation. Other parties have effectively recruited interests and groups in order to broaden their electoral base, as the US party did in the late 19th and early 20th centuries With regard to immigrant types of party system in democracy, the major party systems found in modern democracies are as follows. One-party system. One-party political system is one in which a single party enjoys a monopoly of power to the exclusion of all other parties by political and constitutional means. In some countries, only one party is allowed to control and run the government. The single-party system is sometimes described as a monopolistic party system because it effectively functions as a permanent government, that is, there is no mechanism by which it can be removed from power. This allows such states to be classified as one-party states, their machinery being seen as a fused party state apparatus. Two-party system. A two-party system is duopolistic in that it is dominated by two major parties that have roughly equal prospects of winning governmental power. In its classical form, a two-party system can be identified by three criteria. 1. Although a number of minor parties may exist, only two parties enjoy sufficient electoral and legislative strength to have a realistic prospect of winning governmental power. 2. The larger party is able to rule alone, usually on the basis of a legislative majority. The other provides the opposition. 3. Power alternates between these parties, both are electable, the opposition serving as a government in the wings. Multi-party system. A multi-party system is characterized by competition between more than two parties, reducing the chance of single-party government and increasing the likelihood of coalitions. However, it is difficult to define multi-party systems in terms of number of major parties. As such, political systems sometimes operate through coalitions. This is also true of smaller parties that are specifically designed to accommodate larger parties for government. Dominant party systems. Dominant party systems should not be confused with one-party systems, although they may at times exhibit similar characteristics. A dominant party system is competitive in the sense that a number of parties compete for power in regular and popular elections, but a single major party is dominant and consequently enjoys prolonged periods in power. Japan is usually cited as the classic example of a dominant party system. Until its fall in 1993, the Liberal Democratic Party had been in power continuously for 38 years, having failed to gain an overall majority in the House of Representatives, the lower chamber of the Japanese Diet, only in 1976, 1979 and 1983. The Congress Party in India enjoyed an unbroken spell of 30 years in power, commencing with the achievement of independence in 1947. The African National Congress, ANC, has similarly been the dominant party in South Africa since the ending of apartheid in 1993, its position being based on its preeminent role in the long struggle against white rule. National parties. Characteristics of national parties. The two main categories of political parties in India are national and state parties, and are so recognized by the Election Commission of India on the basis of certain criteria. Certainly, the Election Commission amended the election symbols order, modifying the criteria for recognition as national and state parties. A political party shall be eligible to be recognized as a national party if it secures at least 6% of valid votes polled in any 4 or more states at the general elections of the Lok Sabha or to the Legislative Assembly, and, in addition, wins at least 4 seats in the Lok Sabha from any state or states, or wins at least 2% of seats in the Lok Sabha from at least 3 different states. The Election Commission clarified that there should be a minimum of 11 MPs among the 543 directly elected representatives, thereby giving weight to the party presence in the Lok Sabha. Indian National Congress. The Indian National Congress, INC, commonly known as the Congress Party, is the oldest and the more or less dominant party in India. The origin of the Indian National Congress dates back to the year 1885 when Alan Octavian Hume, a retired British civilian, helped form this organization. In the pre-independence era, the Indian National Congress aimed at the attainment of national independence. After independence, its aim is to rule the country. With the support of majority of people, the Congress followed a socialist ideology even before the advent of independence. The Bharatiya Janata Party, BJP. The Bharatiya Janata Party, BJP, was formally launched as an independent political organization in February 1980 after the Janata Party split on the RSS issue. The BJP has a separate party constitution, separate flag and separate election symbol and would not lay claim on the halter or plough symbol of the Janata Party. Its first president, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, announced while addressing more than 4,300 delegates in New Delhi, Bharatiya Janata Party reaffirms its faith in Indian nationalism, secularism based on respect for all religions, and socialism based on Gandhian principles of decentralization of political and economic power. The Communist Party of India, Marxist, CPI-M. The split in CPI-M led to the formation of India's second Communist Party in 1964, the Communist Party of India, Marxist. The CPI is considered as a right faction, with CPI-M as the left faction of the Communist Party in India. The CPI-M was linked with China and the Marxists were viewed as pro-Beijing. The CPI, however, was considered as pro-Soviet. However, the CPI-M has since modified its pro-Chinese stance and sought to direct the communist movement in accordance with the political and historical realities existing in India. The Communist Party of India, CPI. The Communist Party of India, CPI, came into being on December 26, 1926. It remained effectively an illegal organization until 1942, when the British accepted its support for the Allied war efforts. In 1958, the CPI adopted the Amritsar Resolution and pledged to seek power and social change through parliamentary means. After the 1969 split in the Congress Party and later during the national emergency, the CPI consistently supported Indira Gandhi and her government. Bahujan Samaj Party, BSP. Bahujan Samaj Party, BSP, is a recent entrant to the list of national parties and was founded on 14th April 1984. The party is an expression of Dalit resurgence in India. It has been emerging slowly in certain parts of the country, both as a result of opportunities provided by a democratic system as well as the failure of other national parties to provide social justice to the Dalits. It was formed by Kansi Ram with the aim of capturing power and improving the lot of the scheduled caste SC communities. The Nationalist Congress Party, NCP. When Mrs. Sonia Gandhi became Congress President in 1997-98, leaders like Sharad Pawar and P.K. Sangma left the Congress, refusing to accept a person of foreign origin as the party president, and formed a new party known as the Nationalist Congress Party, NCP. The NCP is influenced by the ideals of democracy, secularism, equality, justice and federalism. The party has its support base mainly in Maharashtra, Manipur, Meghalaya and Assam. Since 2004, NCP has been a coalition partner in the Congress-led UPA coalition government. Failure of political parties, major problem areas. We have gone through the various functions of political parties and have seen their importance in the smooth working of democracy. Without political parties, the political system cannot function in its major role of interest articulation and aggregation. First, political parties in India lack a tradition of intra-party democracy. That means political parties show little evidence of internal debate and discussion among its members on a routine basis. There are no organizational meetings regarding the day-to-day activities of political parties. There are no periodical elections to test the democratic credentials within the party. As a result, the views and opinions of the party members are submerged under the wishes of the central leadership. Since the central leadership exercises paramount power in the party, it automatically makes for an autocratic party structure which, in the long run, can totally destroy intra-party democracy. The lack of clear democratic procedures within parties adversely affects the functioning of Indian democracy in numerous ways. The second major problem area in various political parties in India is the contentious issue of dynastic succession. Most of the political parties have a tradition of inheritance. As a result, the ordinary members of the party are systematically restricted from rising to the top party positions. The third challenge to a healthy political party system has been money and muscle power. Most of the political parties try to win elections by using money and muscle power. Tickets for contesting elections are distributed to candidates not according to the educational and academic qualification, but due to the economic viability of the candidates. Again, most political parties take money from businessmen at the time of elections to finance their extremely costly attempt to capture power. Further, most political parties prefer to give tickets to persons with criminal backgrounds. As a result, politics gets criminalized, which is obvious from the growing nexus between politicians and criminals. Thus, political favoritism and money backed by muscle power has undermined India's democratic system. The fourth challenge is related to ethnification of the party system, where voters are most likely to vote according to their caste or some other ethnic affiliation. Political parties find it very difficult to transcend their respective social bases. Parties should have well-defined ideologies and policies which do not change whether they are in power or in opposition. But in India, we have too much of opportunism. Parties say one thing in power and just the opposite when out of power. Expediency triumphs over principles. The fifth challenge to the party system in India is the acquisition of power no matter what the cost. Parties have become so preoccupied with power and the prerequisites that go with it that they have become insensitive to the problems of the common people. The poor and marginalized have been alienated and drifted away from the mainstream. This is a dangerous trend. It leads to social fragmentation and sows the seeds of insurgency. Parties may win elections, but they will still not gain the trust, the confidence, and the affection of people. Rather, the objective should be the betterment of the lives of the common people. A new approach to politics will look at the political power only as a means of serving the people. This is the only way of ensuring long-term survival in politics. Finally, the rise and development of a party system is like an unnatural political phenomena. Different parties demonstrate an artificial agreement among people who profess to have identical views. The disagreement with their opponents is in the same fashion based on artificial groups. Thus, reason gives way before passions and emotions. The politicians agree to disagree in most of the controversial situations just for the sake of sticking to their pretentious convictions.
How can parties be reformed? Many suggestions have been made to reform political parties. Some of them are as follows. A law should be made to regulate the internal affairs of political parties. It should be made compulsory for political parties to maintain a register of its members, to follow its own constitution, to have an independent authority, to act as a judge in case of party disputes, to hold open elections to the highest posts. It should be made mandatory for political parties to give a minimum number of tickets, about 1/3 to women candidates. Similarly, there should be a quota for women in the decision-making bodies of the party. There should be state funding of elections. The government should give parties money to support their election expenses. This support could be given in kind, petrol, paper, telephone, etc. Or it could be given in cash on the basis of the votes secured by the party in the last election. There are two other ways in which political parties can be reformed. 1. People can put pressure on political parties through petitions, publicity and agitations. When political parties will feel that they would lose public support by not taking up reforms, they would become more serious about reforms. 2. Political parties can be improved if those who want to join these political parties and do not simply criticize it from the outside.